Alrighty, so we're going to be doing quite a bit of discussion here as I'm talking centrally about how you should think about structuring your paper just in parts, but also thinking about incorporating research and how we want to do that kind of expertly. And I'll give you some examples of how to do that kind of in a touch-on way, and then how to do that in kind of a really important that you get this actual piece of information way. So first things first, we are actually going to use a cover letter for this paper. I'll talk about this later, but this is a nice design for a cover letter where you have your title. APA says that you're bold, so discount that. Usually you don't bold things in MLA, which we won't. You've got your title, you've got your name, you won't need the institution. Then we have the course name, my name, or your professor's name, and then the due date, always the European way of doing that. Now, I'm going to have my title of my paper again. And if you are thinking about doing, with DSO logo, there's really two ways to create this paper by sections. One is to have an introduction that introduces the whole topic. And you would obviously have a lot of sources inside of that introduction that would work for both sides. And then you could have a section that deals with the pro and a section that deals with the con that you'll be a little more creative on than pro and con. And so that would have three sections to your paper. The other way to do it is to simply have this is paper A and then later on as paper B. So that's something to kind of keep in mind as you're beginning to write. Which one do I want? Do I have an introduction that speaks to the whole topic, or do I need specific introductions? So let's go ahead and look when I am using sources. So that the first thing that I really want to do is go ahead and make my works cited page. Now your works cited page will look very similar to mine, even though I'm using APA, where it's alphabetized, right? I only have the works that I used. So you're basically copying and pasting your citation from your annotated bibliography, but only the sources that you use. This is a little confusing to some people. They want to just copy and paste their whole annotated bib. First off, I don't want to see any summaries here. And second, that is telling me that I've used all of these sources. So we only want to use the works cited for sources that we've used. And then again, it should say works cited here, not references. This is an APA thing. So I'm sorry if that's confusing. I trust you guys are smart enough to catch that I have to format this in one way and you guys are formatting it in another. So let's go ahead. I'm going through my paper, and this is an introduction, so I don't need a lot of information. So now I've got my first actual citation here, and this is pretty similar. APA and MLA are pretty similar in how they do this. So I've said over the past several years, I've used my positioning. This is a key term as defined by, should say, ethnographic studies of positioning. This should actually be italicized. This is a whole paper. Sorry about that. That's a whole book by ethnographic studies of positioning and subjectivity. Oh, looks like it also needs to be italicized. Especially my tenure to engage students on issues of race, gender, and equality. And then I've given my source. So what am I doing here? I'm actually not incorporating a lot of research. What I'm incorporating is this key term positioning is coming from this source, right? Now, I'm writing a doctorate level paper, so we actually don't want to include too much information, not a lot of quotes. So what you guys would do here is say, I'm using my idea of positioning. Positioning is defined in ethnographic studies as, and then I would pop in a quote there. Here's what it's defined as. Again, this is a style thing, but for you to incorporate information, you definitely want to do that. Now, you guys are also going to do something different here, which is to take this information, right? And I'm going to go ahead and do an insert. And excuse me, because it's been a little while since I've done this in Word. Not a comment. Where is my insert footnote? There we go. I'm going to go insert footnote. And I'm going to create the footnote. And now I'm going to copy and paste this information. Actually, going to cut it and paste it down here. I don't need the parentheses down here because I'm not interrupting the sentence, right? So this is where you're putting this parenthetical. Here's the information. Here's the place where I've stolen this from. If you remember, right, the in-text citation has to reference my works cited page. So I'm going to go down to my works cited page. And what am I going to take from here? I'm just going to take the first piece of information. So in MLA, I'm really just going to take this. In APA, it's important that you keep the year, which is why I'm doing that in my paper. And now we've also talked about the brilliance of this footnote is I could define positioning down here. Now for you guys, there's really no advantage in an academic paper to using that footnote to describe down here or to quote down here. I'm just going to quote in the paper, right? So that's not a distinction I want you guys to necessarily make. Again, as I move through, here's my second source based on the text, culturally sustained pedagogies, blah, blah, blah. It becomes clear that we need to ask this question: who are we teaching and what is their cultural background? So again, I have used APA citation style here. I'm basing this off of here. This is not enough for you guys. This is enough for me. This is not enough for you guys. You need to add more information here. So based on this, what based on this? How based on this? So you want to use a piece of the source information here as you're citing it. Okay. Again, one of the differences, and I'm coming to understand this working with APA a lot. One of the differences in APA is you don't go as detailed in your source information in the paper. And so if you're writing for science or if you're writing for another class, that's normal. In MLA, you really have to be a little more specific. You also have to really get the information in there. And again, you're writing at a much more, basic congenial level than I am. And this is something my professors have specifically asked for us to do in this program, is not overquote. So that's just some differences that you're seeing. I'll go one more that I think really helps. As I was talking about two things. So here, no, that's not the one. Here I'm using two sources to say, like, here's one source defines this problem as a denial of racism, and here's another source that defines this. Sorry, this is the problem of working on my paper as I'm talking to you guys. I noticed things. I'm using one source that would define it this way and another source that would define it this way. Again, probably need more information just than refers to this as a similarist racism. In fact, I might actually add to that a little bit. Because so this is a little bit more of what you guys need to do. You need to do some explaining when you're giving that. Oh my gosh, I cannot type today to save my life. You're doing a little bit more of the explaining of the source here. Or you might, again, pop in a quote from the source that talks about how he defines assimilist racism and anti-racist. I might even add the word thinking here. Because this is really important. This is a key point that I want to make. So this is a little bit of what you guys need to do. Again, like I'm writing such a different paper. I'm writing an analysis. So a lot of my analysis, because I am the expert, right? I am relying a lot less on the sources. And that is a relational difference between me and my work and you and your work. So I hope this isn't too confusing. If it is, somebody tell me and I can make one where I'm not using my own work. And I can maybe explain it a little better. But this is, again, it's not a big deal that it's a weakness for you guys. Because it's traditionally a weakness for everybody in high school, not using the information well enough. But I think just not being in the classroom has really affected our ability to hone that skill this year. And I really want to see you do that as we're working on DSO Logoi.